What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 70 tonight. Big show. I'm Kellen, your host. With me, Tim, Ron, Kyle. Everybody say hi real quick.
What's up, guys? Tim here.
Hey, this is Ron.
Kyle here.
So it looks like, well, we've got a whole bunch of stuff to cruise through as usual. HTC had an event today, which Dave was at. We also had a big Droid Turbo leak moments ago. There's Nexus 6 rumors, and Nexus 9 rumors, and an iPhone 6 review out there, and Tim and I each have a new phone we're testing at the moment. There's all sorts of good stuff going on. So let's start first with HTC's announcements. So they had a press event today in New York City, and they announced the HTC Desire Eye, which is their 13-megapixel selfie cam. And then they also announced the Re, which is a camera. It's not called the Re camera, it's called the Re, and it's a camera that's supposed to take on like the GoPro. They actually name-dropped GoPro on stage today, which I thought was a little odd. But it's like a GoPro. They want you to wear it at all times and capture the world, and it can do slow-mo videos and stills and a whole bunch of stuff. It has accessories, and it never stops recording, apparently, which is a little creepy. Pairs with iOS, Android devices. It's $200 coming this in the next couple months. I think October we'll see it first, and then November later on. Some carriers are already going to sell it, things like that. Anyway, it's $199. Some people would argue might be a little high. The Desire Eye is sort of being positioned as maybe a mid-range device, which is odd. The specs match basically the HTC One M8. Except they have a 13-megapixel front camera with dual flash, but it's got a 5.2-inch HD or full HD display and Snapdragon 801, 2 gig of RAM, all that stuff. So, well, it doesn't have the metal body; it's plastic, but everyone seems to think it's a decent phone so far. So, just curious, after you guys saw everything, if you had any thoughts. First, maybe on this camera. Well, does anyone own a GoPro? Does anyone have a GoPro? I don't.
No.
No.
My life isn't that cool.
Your life's not that cool. You do jump out of airplanes every once in a while.
Sometimes.
Okay, so nobody owns a GoPro. So then, did anyone get interested in the Re? Like, do you want to go buy the $200 always recording, always on Re? I can't say that I necessarily do. Anyone?
I don't know who they're marketing this thing to. I don't get it.
I was going to say that. Like, who is it for, really? It doesn't stack up against the higher-end GoPros. You know, it doesn't have, like, 4K recording or anything.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know, like, the features, some of the software features are a little strange, like you mentioned, the always-on recording, and, like, the fact that you have to use the smartphone app to control it, to do anything with it, essentially.
Right. Yeah, so I guess I'm with you guys. Who's this thing for? Is it really supposed to take place of the GoPro, or the GoPro's kind of got the entire market dominated? Does anyone in that arena really want to go take a chance on HTC, who's not necessarily known for making action cameras that look like submarine parts?
Or even, like, especially good cameras in their smartphones. Like, that's the weird thing. Like, it almost seems like they, like, if they had come out with, like, a really, really good camera on the One for the past couple of years, then maybe this product would sort of make sense to say, like, oh, like, HTC is kind of pivoting into a camera kind of company. But they haven't. Like, their camera has been panned for the last 2 years by pretty much everybody. So it's kind of a weird move for them.
It is weird.
Yeah, it seems like they're just throwing something against the wall and seeing if people will buy it or not. I don't know if it's a great strategy, necessarily.
Well, and one of the
Not when you're
odd
bleeding money in executives.
Right. Another executive left like today or something too.
Yeah.
The one of the odd sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a highlight or not, but sort of points that stuck out for me today was a lot of iOS integration. The camera obviously is going to have an iOS app, but they also announced their HTC Zoe that's coming to iOS as well. So it's like HTC's, so they can't obviously make any money in smartphones. So I think we've realized that clearly over the last couple of years. And so they're trying to enter new arenas, and one of those is the Re camera, but then the other thing is as a software company that also works on iOS, which is kind of interesting to see. I can't think of a lot of the other companies that release iOS apps. I think LG does for some of their fitness bands and stuff. But like, does Samsung have any iOS apps?
Not that I know of.
I know of either. So yeah, it's a little weird.
Well, actually, they have fridges and stuff like that. They might have something.
So they might have something to control your fridge or something.
Yeah, to put apps on your fridge.
Yeah, but I mean, HTC went Zoe on iOS, although I don't think it's available yet. It's coming soon or something. And then, yeah, this re-camera thing for iOS. So it was an interesting press event. Dave was there. We should have had Dave on, except it's late over there, to see what he thought. But I mean, our chat was it was comical. It was just joke after joke after. I mean, it was weird. There was models walking around on stage at one point, and then more models again, and then they were taking selfies. It was super weird. And like all the HTC execs that came on stage, it just didn't feel natural, and some of them looked really stressed out. It was kind of an odd day.
It was terrible. I'm not afraid to say it. It sucked. I mean, the model on there was almost half naked. Like, one had like just a strip across her breasticles, and I don't know why no one got offended by that. Like, was I the only person who was like, what the hell is she doing in this room full of virgins? Watch out, lady. You might get attacked. But,
the tech press virgin crew, yes.
yeah, I don't know. It just seemed really, really awkward and totally unnecessary, especially when we're talking about just a phone that has a 13-megapixel front-facing camera.
Okay, so is anybody else getting like flashes of Samsung from like 2012, 2013?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Like
awkward.
between the like really, really weird press event, really weird one-off product that nobody's going to buy, really weird software that nobody wants to use, like all this feels like Samsung from 2 years ago.
It
You could
does.
just tell they're floundering. I mean, as difficult as they're trying, I mean, as tough as as much as they're trying to hide it. Sorry, excuse me. I don't know. I agree with Tim. Like, considering how little they talked about today, was a press event even necessary? They probably could have released all this information on their website, a couple of demo videos. I was shocked that when the press event ended, because they had barely said anything. I mean, they just spent all that time on their Periscope camera and didn't release any details about the long rumored M8 with the higher megapixel camera. I don't know. It was very strange and painful to watch.
You're right. It sort of felt like, do we really need a full press event for this? It could have been.
I was expecting something more. It just ended. I don't know.
Yeah, the one more thing. We kind of felt like that was maybe coming. Like there was a rumor that we might get a new One M8 that had a 13-megapixel camera on the back, and that didn't even show up. It's really weird.
That's what I thought they were going to announce. I was actually kind of surprised to see the Desire Eye there. We saw it, late last week, I think, or early this week? I can't remember. Either Monday or Friday last week. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. That we'll probably get a press release about that. And then the One M8i, for America will be here. And no, never came. So I'm a little confused to see a Desire be like a flagship American phone. So.
Well, it's only coming to AT&T though, so.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, I'm kind of getting tired of these press events for quote-unquote flagship devices that are coming to one carrier. Like, I don't.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like, I guess that's exciting for AT&T people, but turns out a lot of people aren't on AT&T.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said flagship. Because I guess you're right, it's not really a flagship, but at the same time, I mean, it has flagship specifications, essentially.
Yeah, I would say it's flagship. It's a new model for this year, but it's exclusive to AT&T for some reason. Like,
well, the iPhone was a flagship, and that was exclusive to AT&T. Maybe this will be like really.
That's true. That was also in 2007 when that was a thing. Like, we haven't had that in a long time.
It's been 7 years, Ron.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll do as well as
the
the
Desire Eye is the new iPhone.
Yeah, that's what Tim's trying to say. No, but like that was a thing. Like, remember, like the Galaxy S had its own exclusives on each carrier.
It did, yeah.
The Fascinate and Captivate and all the other stupid names. Like that's a thing of old. Like, I thought we'd kind of moved past that. So for them to see them have this, press event for a bunch of devices that are very niche in their appeal, right? So I have to be on AT&T to care about the phone. I have to be into fitness and controlling things from a smartphone to want the whatever the other thing's called. Like, and then I have to be into Zoe, which, guess what? Vine's been out for a long time and is not doing that great. So I don't think anybody's going to care about Zoe. Nobody was asking for that on iOS. Like, I don't know what they're doing. What was the point of all these things?
I don't know what they're
The
doing
hint,
either.
the Moto hint seems more appealing to me.
The Moto Hint's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Is the
Like
battery life awesome though?
I actually think it's pretty sweet, and I hate Bluetooth ear thingies, and this thing actually is kind of cool.
Yeah, like why is it that Motorola didn't have like a full press event, but HTC's doing a press event for this stuff? Like I don't get it. It doesn't make
I
sense.
know. Yeah, and it was a weird one for sure. But it's over now. Tomorrow we're gonna do Sony.
But now it's
Tomorrow Sony's gonna have another press event to re-announce a bunch of phones for the U.S. Essentially. Tomorrow's gonna be weird too. Like they're gonna go, here's the Xperia Z3 for T-Mobile, even though they already gave that to us, and here's the Verizon version too, which has a slightly bigger battery, is what I've been told. And they're gonna have a whole press event to do that, and then maybe the Z3 Compact somewhere prepaid, like an AT&T exclusive or something stupid like that. Yeah, I don't get what these companies are doing. And then Google will announce a Nexus 6 and Nexus 9 and Android L like the next week and not do anything except spam it all out on the internet at once, and we're all gonna go, oh, okay, there it is, and then people will care about that. It's weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. HTC also mentioned yesterday that no wearable until 2015, so no HTC Watch if you were
Thank
looking
God.
forward to that. Yeah, good job.
One
I don't know how
wise
many
decision.
Yeah, I don't know how many people on Twitter said like the best decision they've made in years. Yeah, probably a good one. Let's see. So Droid Turbo, which is coming to Verizon. We still don't know. It's not official or anything. The manual, the user manual, the 70-some page or something user manual leaked tonight and showed the device and confirmed some things like a 5.2-inch Quad HD display, 21-megapixel camera, wireless charging, a really big battery. We don't know the actual size. It just says a really, really big battery. And it looks like a Droid phone and has a centered front camera and capacitive touch buttons instead of on-screen. And yeah, people seem really excited about it though. In our comments, people are like, "Give this to me now. Take my money now." And then Moto X users who just bought a Moto X are probably a little pissed. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Moto X looks a lot better than this Droid Turbo, but the specs for going Quad HD to 3 gig of RAM to this 21-megapixel shooter and wireless charging and this bigger battery, and then the Moto X, it's still 1080p display and a smaller battery, no wireless charging and all that stuff. So, people seem excited about the Droid Turbo. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Droid Turbo outside of the really ridiculous name? Oh, it comes with one of Motorola's turbochargers in the box, apparently, too, which is like a $40 add-on that Moto X users also had to buy separately.
I think Moto X users, they can't complain. I mean, when has the Moto X been known for having crazy specifications? I mean, Motorola just kind of slaps together what works, I feel like. Sorry if I'm offending anybody. I like the Moto X. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if another phone comes out that has better specifications.
That's true.
In regards to the Droid Turbo, boy, that's really what it looks like that we saw in the user guide. And I'm not really too interested it has hardware buttons, so I'm team no hardware buttons hashtag. So
team on screen.
Wait, is that the full name? Team Nowhere Hardware Buttons hashtag?
Yes. Hashtag team no hardware buttons.
Hashtag at the end, right?
Yeah. Hashtag at the end. New social network thing.
Exactly. So it's an LO thing. You wouldn't know. You're not.
You wouldn't understand. Oh, I do all my stuff on pad.
So yeah, no hardware buttons for me. Thank you very much. 2014, I'm living in the future, and although specs sound great. 21 megapixel shooter, what's going on there? I'll really be curious to see how that all plays out when and if that exact phone gets announced.
It's almost like Verizon said, we want to revive the Droid brand and make the ultimate spec'd out phone that we could possibly do. Because the Droid phones from the last few years have not been spec beasts by any means. They always seem like they're 6 months behind everyone else. This phone definitely not. I mean, this will be the second phone with a Quad HD display, and it just so happens to be a smaller one compared to the G3. And then
what do you mean the second phone with the Quad HD?
Well, right behind the G3.
And the Galaxy Note 4.
Oh, I forgot about the Note 4. Okay, so second one, but it's at least it's a smaller one, I guess.
And Oppo has a QHD display.
Yeah, but no one gives a shit about Oppo.
Sorry,
Anyways.
Oppo. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Oppo. So the smaller quad HD display. Then they threw in this 21 megapixel camera, got wireless charge. I mean, they in the 3 gig of RAM or something. What benchmarks have showed, they threw out like everything they could. I guess I would be a little disappointed as a Moto X owner just because you kind of go, and not like you said, not that there's anything wrong with the Moto X. Still a really good phone. It's probably the best performing Android phone you can buy right now. It's insanely smooth and fast and all that stuff. But yeah. Droid phone. Maybe Verizon said, like, give us something to revive the brand. I don't know.
Well, this will definitely be more expensive off contract.
Yeah, is this going to be like note range too for on contract? Or are we going to go
charge $700, $800 for this thing?
Yeah. What was because the Droid Max last year started at $299, didn't it? And then the Ultra was like $199.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so this thing could be $299. We could be note territory here, which is kind of unfortunate, but.
Ugh.
Yeah. If you're on AT&T, yeah. Speaking of carrier exclusives, if you're on AT&T, we saw a device go through the FCC this week that looked basically just like this phone, and matches it identically. Obviously, wouldn't be called a Droid, but it could be a different Moto phone or something like that. And I just had somebody tell me earlier today that it's probably launching on October 30th. So if you want the Droid Turbo, a couple weeks to go. Yeah, Droid Turbo. Big things happening with the Droid brand. It's been a while.
Literally big things. I don't know. If I was a Moto X user, I wouldn't be super disappointed about it. I think I'd be happy with my device. There's not a lot. Like, more than likely, this device isn't going to be as good looking. Even though I'm not like a huge fan of the X, like more than likely, it's going to. Most of the Droid rebrands are pretty terrible looking.
They are.
And just because it's 21 megapixels doesn't mean it's any better. It could just take really big, crappy pictures. So, like,
that is true.
Well, and another thing we saw in that screenshot that I put on that user guide is that it looked like it was sort of running like Moto skin, Moto blur almost in comparison to stock Android.
Yeah, it looked like there were a couple things.
Yeah, there was that widget. There was a couple apps that were skinned weird. At least the icons were skinned weird. I'm not about that base, and that's something I want to stay away from.
All of last year's, was it last year? Yeah, last year's Droids. They all got pretty quick updates still.
Yes,
right?
I'm pretty sure they
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that is one, I guess, one thing to hopefully look forward to with this.
Right. Motorola has made that commitment to quick Android updates. No doubt about it. I think they crossed their entire line. So, but still, I don't want to skin.
No, yeah, especially with. I mean, it's easy to get rid of a lot of that stuff now, but as long as they don't touch the notification tray, basically.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think they probably have one of the lightest skins of any manufacturer releasing phones in the U.S. nowadays.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really even have a skin. I don't even know that we can call the skin, right? They basically just have stock Android, and then they added their own software.
Couple of tweaks.
It's not like Moto Blur or anything.
Right.
No, yeah, it's basically.
Like
Somebody should dig back in there. Like, I should pull the system dump of this Moto X and see if anything is named Blur anymore. Because for like 3 years, remember everyone hated Moto Blur, and we all trashed on it for like a good year or two. And Motorola tried to distance themselves from it, but every time you pulled system images from a phone, it was still like labeled. Everything was labeled Blur everywhere, and they kept saying it's not Moto Blur, it's not Blur.
It's called Blur.
So that's why we just kept calling it Blur.
Silly Moto.
Silly Moto. So yeah, I heard today that probably around the 30th is what we're looking at. So we'll see. Nexus 6. So let's see. Since the last show, there's been a few appearances of the Nexus, allegedly of the Nexus 6, right? So in our comments, out of nowhere, some pictures popped up of a Nexus 6 next to the G3, and it basically looks like a giant Moto X, and it just dwarfed the G3. The G3 is not a small phone. So, and there was like a sticker taped to it that said Shamu, which is obviously the code name. So, real or not, Tim and I are pretty sure we believe that the pictures are real from other stuff that we've seen. So, big old phone. And then we also saw the device potentially in the hand of someone, probably like on a train or something in Chicago. with a case on it trying to hide it, but you can see it running Android L. And you can tell they like totally put on this janky case where they carved out pieces to like reveal the like buttons so they could control it and things. And then based off of other information we had seen, Dave Cover created us some renders of the back side of the device with Nexus branding and stuff. And we're pretty sure they're legit, so expect it to probably look like what we produce there in black or white. So Nexus 6, any thoughts there? Giant Moto X, basically.
No.
Yeah.
It's just not my style. Like, I think the G3 is as big as I can go. Now it seems like phones are getting like everything was getting bigger, but now I'm starting to go smaller. And I think the Note 4, if I'm reviewing that thing, that'll probably be the last large phone I touch for a while. Because I'm kind of digging the Galaxy Alpha right now. I'm digging a lot of other stuff besides large Android phones. And 6 inches or 5.9 or 6 inches is just that's just too big.
It's big
for me.
Yeah. I'm just not sure about the styling either. Well, first of all, yeah, I agree with Tim. It might be uncomfortably large, but the biggest difference I see between the rumored Nexus and the G3 is the bezels, basically. LG was very economical with the bezels, the top and bottom bezel. It looks like there's a lot of wasted space on this Nexus. So maybe that was necessary for the stereo speakers. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look good from the front. The back looks okay, but again, it's going to be huge. So
it's just a big phone. I don't know. It scares me a little bit. I just don't know why we have to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger. And like usually Nexus devices try to highlight something, that either people aren't doing a lot of or that they would like to see change. I just don't know why Google would have to do such a giant phone.
Maybe they're just going for, the optimal size, they think. I mean, or what they believe is optimal for a QHD display. That could be.
That could be, yeah.
Well, I think another thing, too, is like Nexus does sell decently outside the U.S. And so for a lot of people, if that's your only computing device, like a lot of people want them big internationally. So that could also be another reason.
You would totally just kind of like just put away your U.S. market just because the international market wants a large Nexus phone? Is that what you're like?
That's what Samsung's been doing for the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's Samsung though. Like
and like everybody in the industry, Samsung, LG, now Motorola.
Any
HTC.
Yeah, any dimension type phone you want, like if you want like a 5.7 inch, 5.8 inch, 5.3 inch, like whatever size display you want, Samsung has a phone for you. No doubt about it.
Everybody's seen the charts.
I know. I think Google should be a bit smarter about putting out a 6-inch phone, though. I mean, go ahead, put one out, but at least put something out that's smaller too, for the ladies out there and for the dudes with smaller hands. I think it's just crazy. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's going to sell well. So.
But when has the Nexus program ever been about sales, though? Ever?
I'm saying
it's heavily subsidized to begin with, so.
Yeah, instead of selling 10 units, they're only going to sell 1 unit now. I'm trying to just rounding it down to make it more like, gettable. I just don't think it's going to be. It's not about being like successful in terms of sales. I'm just in terms of anyone even wanting it, or if because they're going to put Android L on it, so it'll be the first phone with Android L.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make the operating system any better to be on a 6-inch display, though. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't add to the experience.
It's the first phone and tablet running Android L.
Right.
I just don't what's the benefit of Android running that big? I mean, there's rumors now of like a whole bunch of potentially like multi-Windows stuff, but we don't know if that's going to be out when Android L releases or long down the road. I mean, is that it? Is that why they're like, well, we just put this big screen in here so we can show you like a new multi-window range, right?
That would be the only thing that makes sense to me, because stock Android has no type of feature that takes advantage of such a huge display. Only Samsung and LG have applications and software that takes advantage of such a large display, and it makes sense for them to do that. They got a stylus too. Having a huge phone running stock Android, say like for example the Xperia T or whatever that one was called, Xperia Ultra.
Yeah,
Xperia Ultra.
Z Ultra.
Z Ultra. Thank you. God damn them. That phone running stock Android is it's simply too big, and there's no reason for it to exist because it doesn't offer you anything besides having a bigger display, but there's just nothing there. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of odd that a Nexus this large is coming out at the same time as supposedly a refreshed Nexus tablet, because I think this, for the people who buy this phone, it will serve the dual purpose of being a phone and tablet essentially. In the past, the Nexus tablets and phones have been like a natural pair, but this time around, I think it's Google's clearly skewing people towards one, which is odd.
Well, I think
it's
Here's the other thing to consider, though. Like, okay, yes, Samsung and LG do have software that takes advantage of the larger screens. You have multiple apps and things like that. I guarantee you, the vast majority of people have no idea they can do that, much less how to do that.
I call BS on that, dude.
I see notes all the time. I see nobody using the pen ever, and I see nobody using multi-window ever.
I did not say that no one would not use the stylus. I'm just saying that I'm sure people who own their notes or any phone that features a multi-window type feature probably, or at least know it exists. That's the only part I'm arguing. I'm not arguing they use it. I'm just arguing that they know that it exists.
They may possibly know that it exists, but if nobody's using it, then it doesn't matter. Zoe exists, so what?
Zoe exists.
Zoe doesn't even matter to any of us.
I am curious, and now that you bring that up, I do want to know who owns a Note and
uses
multi-window.
multitasking. Yeah, multi-window.
The pen I could see people just doodling around with. Like whenever I'm testing a Note, I just pull the pen out and use it as my finger or whatever. But yeah, because I can't ever find a real use for multi-window. Maybe I'm just a boring person and I don't have enough stuff going on. Yeah, I want to know. I know this is totally off topic, but I am curious. If you're in the chat and you own a Note, let us know if you actually use multi-window.
And no one does, probably. It's unfortunate.
The G3 has it, right? I've never used it on the G3.
Well, doesn't it have Q slide or whatever?
Yeah, well, that stuff could be useful at times. But doesn't the G3 have a multi-window? It's super janky, right?
I think so. Oh, yeah. I think it does. Yeah.
Kyle, do you ever use multi-window on the G3?
No.
Okay.
God, no, I don't.
The G3 is it's been getting a little slow. I don't know if anyone else here rocks a G3 anymore because it's so antiquated.
But, I think it's LG's software.
Yeah, it's feeling a little janky lately. That sucks. It's definitely feeling the weight.
Feeling the weight of that skin. I was in Vegas over the weekend, and a buddy had a G3, and he was like, "This thing is slow now." Well, actually, he said it was only slow in games. He said it was fine. Other than that, he said it was laggy.
It's the. I mean, this is going to sound silly, but to some extent, it is because of the underpowered GPU.
It is.
The underpowered GPU or the screen that has way too high of a resolution than necessary?
Don't be mad just because you got 720.
Yeah, I have to applaud Sony for sticking with a 1080p display. That was probably a smart idea. But on the Xperia Z3.
Yeah. The Xperia Z3 I found that I still don't understand why it exists. But
Triluminous. The display's not bad. The display on the Sony devices isn't bad at all. I never would talk smack about the Trilum. I just don't like the
It used to be pretty bad. Like the Z1's display is terrible.
Yeah,
I think the Z2 got a lot better.
Especially with viewing angles.
Right.
Yeah, it used to be really bad. I think in the Z3, I think they've actually put a really good display finally.
It's not too bad. Speaking of displays and resolution, this Galaxy Alpha, this is actually kind of a nice phone.
It's a hot little phone.
Hot little phone. Not too much screen gap. I know that there's gap gate going on with the Note 4 and all that, and Super AMOLED, Super 720. This is it feels good. I don't know if that's on our list to talk about, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I like the Galaxy Alpha.
It was. We can talk about it whenever you want. Do you want to talk about the Galaxy Alpha?
Sure, let's talk about the Galaxy Alpha.
I had it that we were going to talk about the compact and the alpha because Tim and I are testing two new phones. By the way, I have the Z3 Compact, and Tim has the Galaxy Alpha. They're both like the smaller phones of now that still kind of have semi-flagship specs, like decent processors and RAM and cameras, and then they just have a little bit lower res 720p displays. But yeah, what do you think about the Alpha? I unboxed it, and then I gave it to you.
It's pretty darn snappy. This might be the best design I've ever seen on a Samsung device. The chamfered edges, it feels good. I haven't had it for too long. I've had it for about 6 hours now, so I'm still kind of getting used to it and set up the way I like it. But so far, I really dig it. Usually, I would talk crap about the home button, but the other phone I've been using is the iPhone 6, and this thing has a huge home button. So I can't talk smack about home buttons at the moment. But 720p, it's nice to be back on Super AMOLED. Coming from, I was using the G3, and the Super AMOLED is just so bright. Not only bright, but just has great, rich, saturated colors. And it's nice when you're kind of on not Facebook and going through photos and Instagram and Google Plus and all that. Everything just really pops. So, and performance-wise, it's a speedy little device. Kind of flicks through and everything. I mean, Samsung Skin definitely weighs it down, especially when you slide to the right to get into the My Magazine app, which I will promptly disable.
Yeah, turn that thing off. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, you know, I kind of like it. The camera seems really good. I took a couple of shots. Greens are green, blues are blue. Shocker. But other than that, it seems like a nice little phone. I dig the size. Usually I'd be a little disappointed, but this feels really good in hand. So props to... Yeah. People would say this is the iPhone 6 killer. Unfortunately, I would have to call this the iPhone 5S killer because they're practically identical.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it doesn't look like the iPhone 6. It looks like last year's iPhone, yeah.
Exactly, which is fine with me. So I like the little chamfered. It's got some good stuff. Good job, Samsung.
Do you think this is like a turning point for Samsung, or is it just another niche they're trying to fill?
No, actually, this could be the change that we needed because the Note 4 also features this type of design with the chamfered. So with the Note 4, kind of a big-time competitor device, at least the way it's being marketed by certain blogs in the world, I think we could definitely see the same type of thing with the Galaxy S6. Wow, I can't believe we're already at the 6. It feels like yesterday we were still on the S2 and S3. But the S6, I hope they change the name because that would, anyone that has
kind of a bad
impediment, that would be really hard. S6. But I like this phone, and really, I hope the Samsung sticks with it because I'm Team Chamfered all the way.
As Apple goes away from the chamfer.
Team Chamfered hashtag.
Hashtag end. Yeah, so we're going to do a little review of that, hopefully.
Absolutely.
We were kind of avoiding it because we just were like, it's like this little cute little metal phone. But once you get it in hand, you kind of want to talk about it. So, yeah. Oh, so I have the Xperia Z3 Compact. Been testing it for over a week now, and I was really, really excited about this phone because it has like a Snapdragon 801, a 2 gig RAM, and a 20 megapixel camera, and it's waterproof. And it's 720p display, but the display's fine. The battery life is supposed to be insane on it. So far, testing the performance is kind of terrible. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those phones that the skin that's atop Android is just killing it. Like something as simple as swiping up from home, because it has on-screen buttons. So swiping up from home to get into Google Now, it just stutters all over the place, and that drives me insane. And so, like, I picked up a Moto X the other day and started typing on the keyboard, and it's just it's instant, and there's no lag, and it's smooth. And this phone it kind of lags all over the place. So that's been unfortunate. The battery life, the first day I used it actually was insane, as previous reports have suggested. And then I got a Google Play Services update over the weekend, and it's been complete crap. So I can't really test it because I think Google Play Services is killing the battery on it. So hopefully that gets fixed soon. But yeah, the battery life has gone. It went from like going to bed with 40% to now like 15%. So I don't know what happened there. Nice little phone, just not exactly the phone I wanted it to be. Is what I'm saying. So, review shortly, hopefully.
I'm going to dive real quick into our previous conversation about if people use the multi-window on the Note 4 and the Stylist. Now that we're kind of doing this, our show through our different YouTube channel, we have a separate chat going on through there. And someone says they saw someone using their Note 3 Stylus as an ear cleaner, like to scratch the inside of their ear. So I guess if you needed it use for it, that's one thing that you can do.
So people are using it, is what we're hearing. People are using it all the time.
Exactly. Not for its intended purpose.
All right. So I was wrong. People are using it. Okay.
There are uses.
There are uses.
Yes. All right. So yeah, Tim and I on the Alpha and Z3 Compact will have hopefully reviews shortly because soon we're going to be on Note 4 and Nexus 6 probably. And it's a busy time right now. Big things going on in Android.
Oh, huge.
So let's see. So Nexus 9, back on the Nexus train here. Nexus 9, not a lot of new happenings there other than an HTC exec apparently confirmed to like one press member from a site called Focus Taiwan. I don't know. No one else apparently had this report, but he said that this is their recommitment or new commitment to tablets or something like that. And then they also threw out an October 16th availability launch date. And we've sort of heard October 15th within the last couple days as well. So that's next week, which also happens to be the date of Apple's new iPad event. So kind of interesting there. We also saw the device hit the FCC, and we're almost positive it is the Nexus 9 at the FCC. So when things like that happen nowadays, it usually means the device is coming soon. So it could be next week. We could have Nexus 9 and 6 and Android L next week, or it could be the week after. It's kind of up in the air. If Google's hosting an event, we don't know because we don't have an invite. So they haven't done an event in a while. They just kind of been announcing stuff. Other than I/O, they just kind of the last about year and a half, it feels like have just announced things online and just spammed out listings and you can buy this now and here's like 10 different press releases for all the cool stuff we just did. So Nexus could be next week. It could be the week after. It's going to be soon. I mean, we're pretty sure all this stuff's coming by November. So the stuff I've heard is more like early November for everything, but there's people starting to talk about next week as well, so we'll see. Yeah. You guys have anything to say about the Nexus 9? We kind of ran a poll the other week and said, is anyone excited about it? And some people actually said they were. It was actually kind of weird. Our readers all said, like 66% or something said, yes, we're excited and interested. And then all the comments was just filled with no, not interested at all. So I don't know.
If it's not going to have NVIDIA's gaming features, then what's the point?
If it's not going to have what?
Like NVIDIA's cloud gaming features. Then what's the point? I don't know.
That's right. I think we did kind of talk about that a couple weeks ago. So yeah. It just feels like another tablet. And it's apparently not going to be metal now. That came out in the last week or so. It's not metal. It's not like an HTC metal device. It's going to be soft touch plastic, like a Nexus 5. So if that matters to anyone, I don't know that I really want a metal tablet. Actually, Ron, you have an iPad, don't you? What's it like holding a metal tablet all the time?
Sometimes cold, sometimes hot. I don't know. It's nice.
Would you rather have a plastic tablet or a metal tablet?
I like having a metal one, mostly just because if it scratches, it doesn't look as terrible as plastic scratching, if that makes sense. It just looks like a used piece of hardware. So, I don't know. It honestly probably doesn't matter if you're going to use a... We've talked about this a lot. Like, Android tablets just aren't really worth it.
Right.
So, unless you're doing something like the Shield. So, I think metal feels a lot more premium. But if you have if you're doing like a gaming thing like a Shield, like you wouldn't want that to be aluminum because you're going to have issues with heat. So
that's true.
Yeah, but for the Nexus 9, you can probably do it, no problem, because it's not really going to be doing very much. So yeah, that's fine.
So unfair.
It's not unfair. We all agreed about that.
Yeah, we kind of did. It's just another Android tablet that runs stock Android. Unless they do some
it's
cool
like
multi-window stuff, because everyone uses multi-window, Ron.
Everybody's using it.
Everyone's using multi-window these days.
No, but I think it's the same thing. It's like looking at a plastic phone versus a metal phone. It feels nicer in the hand, but it can be a little bit more slippery. That's the trade-off.
That's true.
So, and that gets worse as the device gets larger.
That is true. So speaking of metal large devices, I reviewed the iPhone 6 kind of, and now Tim has the iPhone 6 from me, and I don't want to spend too much time on this. Basically, camera's awesome, battery life's awesome, the display's awesome, and overall the phone itself, Touch ID is awesome. Overall, the phone's a nice phone. I get why people like it. I just iOS. After spending all these years on Android, and I'm so used to every single way that Android works, I just don't like the way iOS works. I don't know that I could learn to like it. I mean, I spent 2 full weeks with it as my only phone. Just some little things that bug me. I don't know that anything really stands out now that haven't had it for like a week because Tim's been on it. But I guess the only thing, like we talked about this, I think a couple weeks ago, that the App Store drove me nuts because you can't find anything on it. But we've talked about that. There's just little things in the way it works. How there's like no back button, and like you have to jump between apps to get anything done all the time, rather than just using a back button. I don't know. And I also
really seem to harp on the back button a lot.
Yeah, the back button thing. I mean,
just like me.
Android phones, like I use the back button all the time. People talk about the Android back button having like a mind of its own, which it kind of does sometimes.
It does a lot of times, yeah.
Yeah, but like I like the idea of being able to do that. So I don't know. I also didn't. We talk about how, or you hear people talk about how iOS has all these exclusive apps, and the app selection is so much better. And that may be the case with the iPad and tablets compared to Android, but like on phones, like I think I mentioned in my write-up that I had 2 apps that aren't available on Android: Tim's Tiny Wings, and then Instagram's Hyperlapse app, just because I wanted to see how it worked, and I actually don't think I even opened it. But I had those installed. Everything else, like I had all the apps I use on Android, and I guess that would make sense if it's supposed to have a good selection. And then I never was able to find like all these exclusive apps that now that I'm back on Android, I'm just like, damn, I wish I had that. But then again, the App Store, you can't find anything, and I'm not going to go read Apple blogs to find apps. So
you just gotta text me, man. Just text me.
You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about apps.
Yeah, I mean, so the phone was nice, and I missed the battery life. That's for sure. I missed like the camera. It's crazy how good Apple can do smartphone cameras. The camera on that thing, it just snaps photos instantly. There's no delay. It seems like every time you take a picture with that phone, it's gonna be a good picture. Like even when my son was like moving around and I was snapping pictures, like they all seemed to come out fine, which is crazy. Like I've never had an Android phone that could do that, which is unfortunate because I deal with a lot of Android phones. And then the one time I pick up an iPhone, like it's just taking great pictures all the time. Like Tim sent me a picture of so there's a Photosphere app for iPhones, and he sent me this Photosphere that he took in the woods the other day, and it's like flawless. There's no stitching anywhere. It just like looks like the greatest Photosphere ever, and he took it with an iPhone. So I missed that. And then, like I said, the display is really nice. I didn't like how slippery the phone was, and it's really skinny and tall, kind of like tall like an HTC One and slippery, but I don't know. It's a good phone. It's just obviously it's not for me. That's basically the conclusion. Which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the iPhone. It's just not for me. That's all. I don't think Tim's going to do a review of it. He just wanted to play with it and take lots of pictures.
Yeah, I really just wanted to take pictures because I was going to the Mammoth Lakes area, and I wanted to play Tiny Wings for a little bit. And I've definitely gotten my fill. I'm still ranking up on Tiny Wings, and but I'm using now. I'll be using the Galaxy Alpha a little bit more. But so I use the iPhone 6 as my daily driver for the weekend, and it was kind of nice. Like Kellen said, there aren't like a ton of exclusive apps that you can't get on Android. Like I was actually going through my Android phone looking for apps. I was like, oh, I might need some apps that I already have on Android. I'll see if they're available. And there was like none that I could find that say weren't already available or were exclusive, vice versa, besides Tiny Wings and a Hyperlapse. I took one Hyperlapse. It's not even that cool. I mean, sure, if you want to sit somewhere for 5 hours, that's awesome, and get a sunset, that's cool. But like I stuck it up a car for like 3 seconds, and I was like, well, this is kind of dumb. So other than that, though, the camera's great. Home button, I'm just not a big home button guy, per se. The camera, how it kind of sticks up out of the back, that also irritates the heck out of me, considering everything else is nearly flesh. I don't know. I feel like I would have a lot to say with iOS, but there's not much to say. It's really frustrating. Like all of the
Like how
swipe
terrible
keyboards.
all the keyboards are. All the keyboards
Oh.
are bad.
The keyboards are the worst, most frustrating thing of all time. So I bought for $1, God forbid, like I buy apps on iOS now. For $1 I purchased Swipe. And every time I get a Hangout message and it automatically opens up the Swipe keyboard, I can't type anything. I gotta go out, go back in to allow the keyboard to start typing. So frustrating. I downloaded SwiftKey to see if it was maybe just Swipe, and SwiftKey does it too. And it's just really frustrating.
There's lots of,
Wow.
the third-party keyboard situation on iOS is pretty terrible right now.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
So,
I'm guessing
and
they'll
I mean,
fix it, but
I think at some point it's brand new, so I mean I think they got to work it out. And I think developers are gonna have to do some updates too. But like I know like in the regular Messages app, it does the same thing or it does this thing where like it'll scroll too far up, so you have to scroll down to see what the like. There's bugs all over the place, and it's with all of them. And they're putting out fixes, and I'm sure it looks like it's issues with iOS though. A lot of the issues that they're seeing.
yeah, well, it's false advertising when Tim Cook or Steve Jobs can stand on stage and say it just works, and my ass, it just works. Nothing works. It's all broken.
except for key things like the camera, Touch ID, things like that.
Touch ID is awesome, by the way.
Touch ID works very well. It's lovely.
So good.
But settings inside of applications and how the settings menu is built in, I know, it makes little sense to anyone who's been on Android for years. They're just like, why are there settings menu for apps inside the system and everything's controlled separately? It's very frustrating,
So
I gotta
weird.
say. And the notifications are handled very poorly. Like, notifications are broken down into per app? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like that is like Notification Center is still basically useless. Like I guess you get
What about the widgets, though? Full widgets, yeah?
The widgets aren't even like widgets.
There's not
They're
a
like
lot of widgets.
They're
and
not
they don't-
widgets. They're
Yeah.
not widgets. That was a lie.
There
to
are
me.
some, but they're not very good. So and like the thing, like with notifications, there are some things like some apps are coming out with more and more apps are coming out with quick reply and things like that. So like on Tweetbot, that's amazing. I love being able to favorite something from my lock screen or do a pull down and then reply like right away. Like that kind of stuff is awesome. So being able to do that kind of stuff is great. But inside Notification Center, it's horrible trying to manage that. Notifications get stuck in there all the time. It's difficult to clear them all quickly. There isn't even a clear all. It's not good.
Per app.
They need to copy Android.
Yep. So that was my time with iOS.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
But I do want to say, you guys keep saying that there aren't a lot of exclusive apps, and I completely disagree with that.
I guess like what are like I know you talk
do
about
they
this
do?
like 8,000 great calendar apps, but like do you really need like 8,000 great calendar apps? Like,
No, I don't need 8,000 great counter apps, but I do need one really good one.
well, like I have
What's it called?
Sunshine. Sunshhine's amazing. I love Sunshine.
Sunshine?
But it's non-exclusive.
It's,
Yeah, Sunshine Calendar.
Yeah, Sunshine Calendar. It's awesome. It
Is it
was an
Sunrise?
iOS exclusive for a long time, and now it's
great.
been on Android for probably like 4 or 5 months now. It's awesome.
Sunrise.
Oh, Sunrise.
Well, now we're
there you
turning
go.
Ron onto iOS apps, so we should probably just quit our jobs.
Sunrise. Is it Sunrise? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Sunrise. No,
Yeah,
but I mean, like,
Sunrise.
so that's the thing, though, is like, yeah, there's tons of crossover with apps, right? But there are, in certain categories, there are a lot of things that just aren't available. So, like, do either of you guys spend time with Tweetbot?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I
so
just use the
Tweetbot.
stock Twitter app, man.
I looked at the
stock
screenshots
Twitter
of
app is
it, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, Tweetbot
well,
does
Tweetbot-
not look good.
Tweetbot
No,
is
it
like,
didn't look good. Yeah, I know everyone uses it, but
it's really, really good. Like, if you use it for a while. Day One is another example. You can only get that on iOS. Really, really great journaling app. There's a lot of note-taking apps. Like,
okay. I was gonna
calendar apps,
say
there's a lot
don't bring up note-taking apps because no one uses note-taking apps. No one needs
I
8,000
use note-taking apps all
note-taking apps. I mean, like I use like Google Keep here and there. I have Evernote, whatever. But like, we don't need 8,000 note-taking apps.
But you need some, right? Like that's the strange thing is that there are a lot of categories on iOS that are pretty full of third-party options, and then on Android there are some categories that just aren't represented.
Yeah, I mean, like
So-
you could go on Google Play and search for a note-taking app, and there's all sorts of actually really nice that all have like some of them are material design guideline now. Like there was some before that had taken on. Like there's a new note taking app like every day. I swear. Like our inbox, Tim and I get note taking apps.
Yeah, we're starting to see that happen. And same thing with calendars. Like with Sunrise coming over, and hopefully we'll see some more. But for a lot, that's what I'm saying. Like it's now starting to catch up. But for a very very long time, those categories were not represented at all.
Really, like, and I kind of said that I feel like now it's a lot different. It might have been like a couple of years ago or a year ago, might have been really bad. I don't feel like it's
it was a terrible, because even a year ago we were getting a lot of crossover, but there are still a year ago plenty of apps, specifically app categories that just weren't represented. And to the person that says don't cry, iOS is not perfect, and that's okay. I was literally 3 seconds ago just complaining about notification center, like 3 seconds ago. And if you want to hear me complain about my phone more, check out my Twitter account. I complain all the time.
Ron has complaints about iOS, that's for sure.
Exactly. Anyone who says that does not listen to Ron Frangia, because all the man does is complain about iOS. All he does is stick up for what he likes, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate your perspective on the iOS stuff, Ron. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway.
So moving on.
That's our iPhone talk. So yeah, we could go on for a long time, but that's iPhone.
Yeah.
So we did the experiment.
Yeah, and I was just going to say I thought it was a really fair review, and a lot of the stuff that you brought up that you didn't like are also things that I don't like about iOS. So there are some things that bother you, and I think a lot of them, like there are things about Android that I know bother me because I use iOS full time, so just it works differently, and that's why I don't like it. It's not necessarily that it's bad, it's just it's not what I'm used to, and so obviously you're going to have some of that as well. But there are definitely things with both systems that are frustrating and annoying that we hope to see fixed at some point. So I thought it was good.
Android just works for me. I don't know what you're talking about. It seems like a superior operating system.
Only if you're using TouchWiz does it work.
TouchWiz?
Yeah.
TouchWiz with Android L.
Yeah, oh God. The TouchWiz on Android L that doesn't look any different than TouchWiz.
No, it's totally different now. It's got multi-window.
So bad.
It's L-Wiz.
It's L-Wiz. All right.
They should definitely market it that way in Spanish-speaking countries.
It's L-Wiz. That would be legit.
That would be awesome. All right, so Moto 360 had a battery life, not a battery life update. It had an update a week or so. It's been over a week, I think. Had an update, and it greatly improved battery life. So you can run the Moto 360 now with ambient mode on if you want, and get I don't know, 16, 17, 18 hours, which is something you couldn't do before. And then if you run it without ambient mode on, you can get basically 2 days. So kind of a big deal there. We kind of ran some tests, and battery life's awesome now. So if you have Moto 360, you shouldn't have been worried about it previously, but now really you don't really have to worry about battery life. Yes, you have to kind of charge it every day, but it could get you upwards of 2 days if you didn't have a charger. Let's see. Verizon, in sort of crazy, unexpected news, is canceled all of their throttling plans of unlimited LTE data customers, which is really weird. So we had been preparing everyone for days, and all of a sudden Verizon dropped a little note in our inbox that said, "Hey, we're not going to move forward with throttling of our top 5% LTE unlimited data customers." And I still almost can't believe it, and we have readers. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we've had some readers chime in that said they think they're still getting throttled, and that just could be Verizon's network that's not so hot these days.
Yeah, could just be their basement. It doesn't have proper connection.
Leave your basement, and you'll get 20 megabits. Anyways, kind of surprising that Verizon did that. So
you really wonder if they have something worse up their sleeve. And this is just a gesture of goodwill to kind of get the FCC to let it slide when it comes. But I don't know. That's a cynical perspective, I guess.
What was the real reason, right, for them? We'll never know.
It really wasn't out of the kindness of their hearts.
It doesn't really feel that way, right? So, yeah. But hey, they're not throttling apparently now, so that's good. Let's see. Oh, so we asked a question. I'll just maybe a quick answer if you guys have a second. We asked yesterday what people don't like about their current phone, and people just spammed off all sorts of stuff, from the camera to the battery life to display. So, well, Tim, not the Galaxy Alpha, maybe, since you just picked that up.
I'll use the G3.
Yeah, so what's like one, maybe two things that you don't like about your current phone that you would see switch? We'll just start with you, Tim.
I guess I would have to say the jank. Like, like over time, the stutteriness in the system, like the slow down of hardware and software, like I hate that. Like, I feel like shout out to everyone who has to use a phone for 2 years. I haven't had to use the same phone for 2 years since 2009, basically. So since I got into Android, because every time something new came out, either I wanted it or I was able to get it from a review, and anyone that can live with an Android phone, because like I know Android phones slow down for 2 years, must have the patience of a saint, because that would just kill me. I would probably wipe my phone a lot more or something. I don't know. I would just the slowdown rate of phones seems to be getting worse and worse. Maybe that's just
why
me.
there's still a big group of people that flash ROMs because they need a new phone, and so
They gotta overclock those kernels still, man. That's the problem.
Do people still do that?
Absolutely. Why not set
Clock my kernel
CPU?
every day.
Yeah, set CPU is my favorite app. Bump it up
Set
to 1.5
CPU,
gigs. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know if your phone's really running well until you feel the heat of it from the back. until you feel that battery slowly expand.
Yeah, until I can cook an egg on my phone, it's not fast enough.
So,
Around performance mode.
Yeah,
that's right.
So just the overall slowdown is something I don't like about my current phone. Everything else seems decent for now.
Ron, 5C.
I think, I don't know, I'm still really happy with it. I think the thing that, like I talked about, Notification Center driving me crazy, it's useless. I think the only other thing that I kind of wish I had regularly is Touch ID. It's really the only other thing that I wish. It's still, yeah, but it still takes really good pictures. It's still way faster than my 4S. And it comes in blue. So.
Do you still like the color? I was gonna say, do you wish you had a different color?
No, I love how it looks. It's scratched like crazy, but you can't really tell because it's plastic. So, yeah, it's been a really good phone for me. I've been happy with it. So, but those are the. I mean, there's weird flaws in iOS 8 notifications that are still sucky, but other than that, it's been good.
Kyle, anything you don't like about the G3?
Well, I agree with Tim. The responsiveness is kind of disappointing. And like I said earlier, I think it's in large part due to the skin, but also could have something to do with the Snapdragon 801. I don't know, because I've read reviews that the Cat 6 model, which is a Korean exclusive, and which has the 805, is a little better. Other than that, I just don't like how the plastic creaks, kind of. I like the design. I like the design a lot better than the G2, and it's a really sleek phone. But like when I pull it out of my pocket, I just can feel that removable back cover give a little bit, and I can hear it give, and it's just, I don't know, it's a little nasty. So I wish it was a little more solid. But actually, the odd thing is it seems to vary from like model to model. Like I had a different G3 before this one, and I got a replacement, and this one is a little worse. In that regard, so I don't know. It could just be the inconsistency in manufacturing, but yeah, I'm not too happy with it. But other than that, though, it's a great phone. Don't get me wrong. I like the speaker. I like the camera. I like the sort of the display, some aspects of it at least. So, but yeah, those are my two biggest issues.
Let's see. What am I using right now? The Z3 Compact. I would just have to go performance. We basically all three of us said performance. That's not good for Android, right? But all three of these phones have skins. Like if the Moto X was my daily phone, which it might be after we get done reviewing the next 8 phones, it has no performance issues. But yeah, like the Z3 Compact, it's got Sony skin on. I even like threw Nova Launcher on immediately because I can't stand Sony skin. But like, yeah, it's just slow in areas where it shouldn't be slow. Like I said, when I swipe up from home to get into Google Now, that should not lag. Also, if you're in the camera and you try to record a video, it seriously, you think it's frozen, and it takes about 8 seconds, and then all of a sudden it starts recording video. So then you're like too late anyway. Almost wish I could try to capture that on camera. Maybe I will tomorrow or something. So yeah, performance again. So that's not a good thing for the couple of Android phones we've talked about there.
Yeah, and I would say too, like with the Moto X that borrowing still, pretty much everything on that is still snappy.
Yeah.
So if I go to take a picture, it's not good, but it's quick to respond. Video, same thing. Games still work fine. Launching in Google Now, typing, all that stuff is still great on a phone that was considered not top spec last year. So
sometimes it really does come down to the optimization.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that word is thrown around a lot nowadays, but it's true.
Yeah. Down with carriers or manufacturer skins. They are the worst.
Carrier skins.
Yeah, carriers. They're probably basically carrier skins. I mean, Tim and I complain every time a new Galaxy phone comes out about TouchWiz because it's slow. Like the S4 we complained, S5 we really complained because it just slowed everything down.
It made the phone unusable.
Yeah.
So.
And like it's a lot different. Like the jank and the lag of now of phones today, it's a lot different, obviously, than 2 or 3 years ago. But you shouldn't see just those like little stutters here and there. Like you said on the Alpha, when you swipe over to open that stupid My Magazine thing that Samsung created, it's so slow. I know you're talking about because I've used it on. I think the Galaxy S5 has it or something. And it's so slow. And like that shouldn't be the case. Like how can you not optimize that piece of software that with a swiping gesture takes like 3 seconds to load? That's just terrible. So,
yeah, especially if you're going to put that on your home screen like that.
Yeah, and try to get people to use it. Like it's
everything should be quick. I mean, the fact that Motorola has a phone that has what 2-year-old specs now, 3-year-old specs, like, and it's still running really well. Still runs great. This isn't on a custom ROM. This hasn't, it's been on the same, load for as long as I've had it. Haven't, wiped it out or anything else like that. It's still snappy and responsive. So that's but we've constantly, like, that's been the history of Android phones with custom software on top of them, with skins on them. Like they've always had issues somewhere, right? So it's improved in some places, but it's disappointing to see that's still an issue.
Yeah. After all these years.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the funniest thing I've ever.
the massive second there, Kyle. All right, so you guys want to talk? Well, Tim, you have an app you want to talk about? I haven't used any new apps lately because I was on iOS forever. So, Tim,
yeah, that was actually my problem. I was going to talk about Tiny Wings, but I forgot no one else here has got an iPhone. I want to talk about Asphalt Overdrive, which is like the new racing title on the block from Gameloft. And Gameloft, another day, another Gameloft title. Those guys have lots of games. But I actually quite enjoy this one. I enjoy Asphalt 8 and 7. And they're just racing games. They're pretty cartoony in the sense where it's not very realistic driving. Like, you have 100 NOS boosts within a race, and you can drift around corners and stuff. But what's cool about Asphalt Overdrive is I do enjoy very much the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling. It's one of my favorite movies. And this game actually kind of reminds me a lot of that. Not like with characters or anything, but it kind of takes place in a modern 1980s. The Drive does not take place in the 1980s, but it kind of, the music, the soundtrack of the movie gives off like a kind of a house music 1980s vibe, and this game definitely, it features that, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the music, and I enjoy the scenery. It's like a modern 80s Southern California. So Ron, maybe it'll look similar to you. It's like SoCal,
yeah,
Los Angeles.
I live in a modern 80s Southern California. Yeah, so that's about right.
Doesn't everyone live in a modern 80s Southern California? Like, everyone's just acting like it's still the 80s down there?
Constantly.
Anyways. Yeah, you go to Whiskey A Go-Go and go check out Motley Crue and Skid Row and all these guys. The Viper Room. Anyways, I've been down there. I love it. Anyways, so Asphalt Overdrive, it's free to play, but like I said, Gameloft, they got to make $1 somehow, so you can expect to see plenty of in-app purchases. I think the most expensive in-app purchase is only $100, and it unlocks all the cars and all that stuff. So that's probably going to be a necessity purchase.
That is
The time savers package.
Yeah, I know. So I think it's 100.
I remember when Game Loft games were all like $6.99, and people complained that they were too expensive. Would you rather have a $6.99 Game Loft game or have these like $100?
I'd rather have a $100 video game.
That said, so I was playing this game this week sometime, and it's like if you compare it to the Spider-Man Unlimited, whatever that game is, like you can definitely play a lot more regularly, and you don't have to like it's just as fun. It's the exact same thing basically, except for you're driving a car instead of being Spider-Man. But you can play more often, so it's fun. It's definitely worth checking out.
See, okay, so I don't mind games. What I think is total BS that developers are doing are integrating the system where you have to have energy, or lives
or tokens or whatever.
Give me a break, like don't make me pay $1. Just allow me the ability to play whenever the hell I want.
Right.
Like don't make me wait. That is such BS. I saw it first with Angry Birds Go. Actually there was probably games before that, like Dead Trigger 2, I think.
Yeah.
But what a joke. Am I right? Like that's just ridiculous.
Well, that's you know what? I'd be okay with something like that if there's like if there's an in-app purchase to say, hey, unlock it. Because I get they want to make money on it.
$1 I don't care if they take my money as long as it's reasonable, like not extortion, like you're blackmailing this game or whatever to be free for a price. It's really silly.
There's a lot of things like this one is not as aggressive with that. Like you can play for quite a while and not have to worry about it. Versus like Spider-Man, where you can max out at 5 tokens, and then each token refreshes after 10 minutes. So it's like if you die a lot quickly, then you're out of luck for an hour. Like it's just
so ridiculous. And if you have in-app purchases where you want people to spend money on things, like
have something that unlocks that stuff.
Yeah, or you should let them play the game so that they want to unlock stuff. And if you can't pay to play the game, it makes no sense.
That's like Candy Crush, man. It's like they don't want you to play, but at the same time they want you to pay a lot to unlock levels and have boosts and all that. I'm like, man, it's like you're paying to play. Yes, and so it's essentially like being at an arcade and having to pay 25 cents for a life or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, except for the difference being the games at an arcade are like demonstrably better.
Well, of course. That's
the outrageous thing. It's like for some of these games, like okay, I have to pay like $100 to play a game that's way worse than if I pay $60 for a console game.
Right.
Like I can get a much better experience on that.
Like if you're playing a Kim Kardashian game or something. Kim Kardashian.
I am so addicted to that. Yeah, like I was saying, speaking of console games, Kim Kardashian on Xbox 360 is so bomb.
The Kim Kardashian game is on Xbox?
No, I'm just joking. Sorry.
I'm like, wow.
No. I think he wants to talk about a special more friend of his, though.
No, I don't want to talk about it yet unless there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? I'm about out of topics.
I want to hear about xenomorphs.
I don't know what that
All right. Well, if no one else
Alien Isolation.
Yeah. If no one has an app or a game, real quick, if you do have a console that supports Alien Isolation, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, PC, whatever console you got to pick up Alien Isolation. This is like one of the legitimately most scary, frightening games I've ever played. I grew up watching like Ridley Scott and James Cameron, all these guys, and the game is so true to the franchise. It's just you versus one alien and some androids and naughty humans on a space station looking for Ellen Ripley and what happened to her. And it's just so fantastic. I can't. I have very high praises for the game. So if you have the chance and you want to, I highly recommend Alien Isolation. Thank you.
Sweet.
Especially if you're a fan of the movie, like Alien and Aliens in particular. Like if you're a fan of those, like it looks like
those are the only 2 real Alien movies, I think.
Yeah, Alien 3 is garbage.
Alien 3 is not very good. No. Alien Resurrection is not very good.
Not good. Don't watch that.
No.
Prometheus,
decent. They all have Sigourney, which kind of gives them credit though. But regardless, if you're fans of Xenomorph or anything like that, this game, and you like scary games, the game is not easy at all. Like,
Well, it
let's see.
recommends you play on like the hardest mode, right?
Well, it defaults. So it defaults to hard, and unless you change it, then you're in to die a lot. So
yeah, because most games like they either let you choose or they just put you in like easy or moderate or
Normal.
there is. So you do have the ability to go. I mean, either way. So on easy, they say right there, easy. Yeah, I think you just have the ability to find more items. It does not make the alien any less stupid. He is still a killer. And medium is just like the kind of the normal, but it's hard. And then the hard is just suicide, where if you're crawling around, he'll still hear you and kill you. So, or it. We don't know if it's a boy or girl. So.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
So they're,
Sorry.
It's one of the first good. It's one of the first good aliens or alien games in a while, I think, because there have been some pretty terrible ones. So it's kind of refreshing to see a decent take on the universe, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always offended by games like Colonial Marines and all that, where you just have unlimited ammo and you can just shoot. Although not even
That was
going
a
into all
disaster.
the drama with the developers in that game, but this game really stays true. They got Sega's blessing and all this, so everything's great about it. There are a few bugs, of course, but within the first week or two or a month or whatever, some bugs will be worked out. So, like, my alien got stuck on a wall yesterday, and I was able to, like, run away, and he's, like, chasing after me, but he's stuck on a wall. so that was cool, but the game is legitimately frightening. Like, if you play with a headset with no lights on, you can hear him crawling above you and just hunting you. You feel hunted, and it's totally legit.
it sounds pretty awesome actually.
Man, check out some trailers. Even if you haven't heard of it, just check out some trailers and you'll want to see if you can survive.
Yeah,
really
I watched one review and I was like, okay, I need that.
Yeah, exactly.
You think that'd be a good virtual reality experience?
Well, they say, yeah, people have been playing it with Oculus Rift, and they say it's cool. I don't know. I would never have an Oculus Rift for that game because I'd probably like go have like a seizure. And
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it looks cool. Maybe I'll try it with Gear VR. I doubt it's compatible.
Yeah.
Awesome thing right before we started said Gear VR overheats after like 20 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
Only if you overclock it.
Overclock the
Or
VR.
if you're running multi-window and overclocking it.
You're gonna have to underclock it, I guess.
Underclock, yeah.
Multi-window.
Multi-window VR. All right. You guys have anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it. I got my Alien Isolation plug-in for the night. I'll get paid. I'm good to go. Get that Sega money.
Get that money. All right, cool. Well, we will wrap then, and we'll try to be back as often as we can. We can be. Something like that. It looks like we'll be back next week. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Droid Life Show, episode 70. Yeah, we're getting up there. Big episode. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. We should be back next week. We're out. Peace.
Bye, Ron.